On this Monday night, racing to rescue Afghans. What Canadian Special Forces are now doing, and the Taliban's warning if evacuations continue beyond August 31st. Plus, powerful words from an Afghan filmmaker.
They didn't have to sell us out to the terrorists. Can you believe that a terrorist group can change overnight?
The rise of the fourth wave.
It's a virus. It does not care how tired we are.
Grim predictions about the autumn. Deja vu on the campaign. The billions the Liberals are again promising to boost health care. Plus, keep calm and carry on. A royal tradition back at Buckingham Palace.
Global National with Donna Friesen.
Those desperate to escape are not giving up hope. There is still a crush of people outside Kabul's airport waiting for hours, hoping they'll be allowed on board one of the evacuation flights. More planes are coming and going, but the window is closing. August 31st is the withdrawal date the U.S. and the Taliban agreed to. Just 8 days to get tens of thousands of people out. It's likely not everyone who wants to leave will make it out by then. Good evening and thanks for joining us. Pressure is mounting on U.S. President Joe Biden to extend that deadline. Urgent talks will take place tomorrow. G7 leaders, led by Britain's Prime Minister, will discuss the evacuation process. Biden has said he is considering extending the mission, but the Taliban is not. In an interview with Sky News, a Taliban spokesperson called the August 31st deadline a red line.
President Biden announced this agreement that until 31st of August they would withdraw all their military forces. So if they extend it, that means they are extending occupation. So it will provoke a reaction.
With the clock ticking, Canada's Defence Department says special forces are now on the ground in Kabul, going outside the airport compound to try to reach Canadians and eligible Afghans in those crowds. Mike Armstrong has our top story tonight.
It is a desperate situation, more and more desperate by the hour. Crowds that were lucky enough to make it through Taliban checkpoints to reach Kabul airport stand in the heat for hours, some up to their knees in dirty water, waiting in a ditch. They wave passports and documents. For those who've turned up told they'd be going to Canada, they were instructed to wear red to stand out and be spotted by Canadian soldiers.
We see you. Keep waving.
For the first time, Ottawa is confirming Canadian soldiers deployed to the Kabul airport are also working outside. An official says Canadian Special Forces have been going out into the city to help get people to the airport. That official also confirms there have been 4 Canadian flights since the airport reopened August 19th, transporting a total of just over 850 people. Canada is one of 13 countries taking part in the air bridge operation out of Afghanistan. The official says Canada has 1 spot for a plane reserved each day for as long as the American-led operation runs.
I'm exhausted from the amount of messaging I'm putting out there.
Sir Karimi is trying to get his mother out of Kabul. The Toronto woman went back to visit family in June against the urging of her son. Now she's stuck. Karimi says he spent days trying to get help from Canadian officials, but has only gotten automated email responses. For now, he says her mood seems to be okay.
She's very optimistic. She's told me to hey, stay calm. But I'm worried that she's just doing that because she's a mother, and she knows if she's not calm, then I'm not going to be calm.
Canadian officials say Taliban checkpoints around the airport are choking access. There's also increasing violence. There was another gun battle at one point Monday. About 20 people have been killed in recent days in the chaos around the airport. A Canadian veterans group that's been working to get interpreters and other Afghans out says it got 13 families to the airport Monday. That's about 60 people who have been approved to travel to Canada. It is progress, but it's slow, and time is running out. Mike Armstrong, Global News.
A little later, I speak to an Afghan filmmaker who says the hopes and dreams of an entire generation are being lost. But first, the pandemic. The BC government is launching a kind of vaccine passport. British Columbians will soon be required to provide proof of vaccination to go to many non-essential indoor events, including concerts, sports, movies, restaurants, nightclubs, and casinos.
As of September 13th, you will need to have at least one dose of vaccine to enter these settings. And by October 24th, entry to these settings will require people aged 12 and older to be fully vaccinated at least 7 days after receiving both doses.
The province hopes the new system will help reduce transmissions and ensure businesses can remain open in the fall. It plans to release more information on the BC vaccine card early next month. The more contagious Delta variant is now dominant in many places, and it could drive case counts higher than ever this fall. Vaccines mean far fewer people will get sick and die, but as Jamie Mauracher reports, hospitals are still bracing to be overwhelmed.
Low on doctors and nurses, Alberta Health Services is invoking emergency staffing measures.
As the COVID numbers rise and as the hospitalization numbers rise, that's going to cause more stress at an already stressed and not fully operating system right now.
And health experts there say COVID cases could skyrocket to 5,000 a day. Shazma Mathani says she's scared for fall.
With Alberta in particular, because there are really no public health measures or any sort of meaningful public health measures remaining, we're seeing the Delta spreading very rapidly.
In BC, when cases took off in Kelowna, the province's top doctor brought back a mask mandate for the interior.
It does seem that the growth in interior health is moderated.
Still, modeling there shows without intervention, daily cases will rise into the thousands.
The virus does not care what you and I think. It does not care how tired we are of dealing with this.
Alison McGeer anticipates a Delta-driven spike will take Ontario to nearly 7,000 daily cases by Thanksgiving.
If we don't do something about the increasing number of cases, we're going to push our healthcare system over the limit again, and many people are going to die.
A terrifying trajectory, says Dr. Mathani, as many unvaccinated children head back into schools.
Young children are affected more with the Delta variant. It's more virulent, it's more transmissible, and it's having more severe outcomes.
Experts say provinces should act now, requiring smaller class sizes, mask mandates, physical distancing guidelines, and vaccination for those who are eligible to prevent the ICUs from getting overwhelmed. Currently, 75% of eligible Canadians have been fully vaccinated, shy of the government's 83% summer target. Donna?
Jamie Mauracher in Toronto, thanks. Healthcare is always a big concern for Canadians. Today, Liberal leader Justin Trudeau promised to spend billions to hire new family doctors and nurse practitioners, though it's not the federal government who actually hires them. There is a massive shortage. About 5 million Canadians don't have access to a primary healthcare provider. Mercedes Stevenson is traveling with the Liberal campaign tonight. Mercedes.
Donna, the Liberals are campaigning heavily on health care here in Atlantic Canada, where it is a huge political issue. In fact, last week's Nova Scotia election was fought and may have been won on it. Here in Newfoundland and Labrador, nearly 90,000 people are without a family doctor. And if the Liberals hope to get a majority, they need to win over Atlantic Canadians on issues like this.
On Monday in Halifax, Liberal leader Justin Trudeau promised $6 billion to reduce healthcare wait times and another $3 billion to hire 7,500 doctors and nurses.
This is our moment to rebuild a healthcare system that works for all Canadians.
If that sounds familiar, it's because he made a similar promise in the 2019 campaign, that every Canadian would have a family doctor. 2 years later, that hasn't happened.
These are kind of empty promises. I mean, they have to attach the money to actual teeth. There have to be strings attached to say, to get the money, the provinces have to do X, Y, Z, and there needs to be leadership. And that's really what's missing here.
The federal government doesn't hire doctors. That's the province's job. And the premiers have been clear about what they want, making their demands on Ottawa just before the last federal budget.
When health matters more than ever.
The Liberals have promised an increase to health transfers after the pandemic, but have not said how much they would spend, only that the federal government supported the provinces during the pandemic. The NDP said they would increase healthcare spending, but without details on where or how. The Conservatives are the only party to lay out their healthcare platform so far, with Erin O'Toole campaigning on an increase to health transfers from 3% to 6%, which works out to about $60 billion.
I 100% support our public and universal healthcare system. In fact, it's been the backbone we've relied on through the pandemic.
Mercedes Stevenson, Global News, St. John's.
There's a bit of a kerfuffle going on over a campaign video the Liberals released. Twitter flagged it as manipulated media. It shows Conservative leader Erin O'Toole expressing support for a private, for-profit healthcare system, but a key part of his message was edited out by the Liberals. Mike LeCouture explains what happened and the fallout.
We can't have just one old model.
The year-old video seems to show Conservative leader Erin O'Toole speaking in favor of two-tier health care. It was tweeted by Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland, but Twitter quickly slapped this label on it, flagging it as manipulated media.
Canadians deserve better than that.
Monday, O'Toole said he 100% supports Canada's public universal system, and he slammed the Liberals for the smear.
Misleading people, importing American-style media manipulation to our campaign within the first 10 days.
Leader Justin Trudeau's defense of the edited video was to point people to the unedited version.
In the middle of a pandemic, Erin O'Toole came out unequivocally in support of private health care in terms of for-profit health care.
Now, it's not that clear when you watch the full version, because in one breath, O'Toole says universal access is paramount, and in another...
And I actually praised what Brad Wall did with respect to diagnostic imaging, because he's actually making sure that wait times for everyone go down.
NDP leader Jagmeet Singh says the campaign is entering dangerous territory.
It is really disconcerting, though, that the current party in power is engaging in exactly what we need to be ending.
This former Liberal staffer and current communications expert says Twitter was overzealous in labeling the tweet manipulated.
The minister was only taking a direct quote and putting it out there in a short format, which is what you need for online.
The Tories don't see it that way, and the party is asking for an investigation to see if the Liberals violated the Canada Elections Act by intentionally altering the video. Donna?
All right, Mike LeCouture, thanks. Elsewhere on the campaign trail, NDP leader Jagmeet Singh made a commitment to clean up the environment, pledging to reallocate subsidies for oil and gas companies if he's elected.
All subsidies. New Democrats believe in ending fossil fuel subsidies, period. It's been going on for too long.
The NDP leader says he will redirect the subsidies to renewables to create jobs in the clean energy sector. The Pfizer-BioNTech shot finally fully approved in the U.S. Coming up, what it could do for that country's stalled vaccination rate. Talk about a royal comeback. At Buckingham Palace, the changing of the guard ceremony is back. Always a crowd pleaser, the Coldstream Guards have been on hiatus since the start of the pandemic. The time-honored tradition is the official handover of responsibility for protecting the palace. The U.S. has finally granted full approval to the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine. Millions of Americans have already received it, but until now it's only had emergency use authorization. This not only opens the door for more vaccine mandates in the U.S., it could win over some vaccine skeptics at a time when the virus is surging. Jackson Prosco explains the context.
Deep in the throes of another COVID surge comes a shot of confidence in the vaccines.
Those who've been waiting for full approval should go get your shot now.
Using data from 44,000 clinical trial participants, the FDA has given the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine full approval. 92 million Americans are already fully vaccinated with Pfizer, but there are still plenty of skeptics.
Where does full FDA approval fit on the spectrum of helping convince people to get vaccinated?
Unfortunately, I think full FDA approval does not fit high on the spectrum for individuals. I think it does fit high on the spectrum for large organizations, employers, states, cities, and local jurisdictions to put in a mandate.
Within minutes of the approval, New York City announced it would require all teachers and school support staff to get the jab. The Pentagon confirmed a mandate for all members of the U.S. military.
These efforts ensure the safety of our service members.
It comes at a critical juncture in the pandemic as cases and deaths surge again. Doctors in Florida say they're at the breaking point.
The heartbreak now is we're not just going into work and working long hours, but we're seeing people who don't need to be in the hospital, who are healthy, who are young.
Through mandate or motivation, FDA approval will lead millions more to get vaccinated, while raising questions about when vaccine coverage will be expanded.
I think what people are focusing on is when are children between the ages of 5 and 12 going to be vaccinated?
There's no timeline for approval in young children, even as they head back to school. Other vaccines, like Moderna's, are still under FDA review. FDA approval may help shake the perception these shots are experimental or untested at a time when they may be more important than ever. Jackson Prosco, Global News, Washington.
Tennessee in turmoil ahead. Record rainfall turns deadly in the southern state. Tropical storm Ahri is slamming the northeast United States, pounding several states across the region with heavy rain and high winds. In New Jersey, hundreds either fled their homes or had to be rescued after the storm triggered flash floods. The remnant of Ahri is now heading into Atlantic Canada as a weaker tropical depression. Heavy rain will soak parts of the Maritimes until Wednesday, but no strong winds are expected. And a severe storm also hit central Tennessee. Record-breaking rain triggered flash flooding, turning streets into torrents and causing widespread destruction and death. At least 22 people have been killed there. Dozens more are missing. What's being lost as the Taliban take over? I speak with an Afghan filmmaker next.
دیگه از یه حادثه خو چی تشریحات بیتم که شما هم خبر شدین.
That's a clip from a film written and directed by Afghan filmmaker Diana Sakeb Jamal. She lives in Kabul, making films she hopes will inspire and influence people. She was in Canada visiting family when the pandemic hit, and that prolonged her stay here. And now she's watching events unfold at home and feeling sick with grief. Diana Sakeb Jamal is with me now from Toronto. Diana, thanks for taking the time to speak with us. How are you doing? What are you thinking and feeling as you watch events unfold in your home country?
Well, not good. I wake up every day with so much pain in my heart. I feel I can't breathe. I feel my heart is pounding. And then I remember what happened to my country, what happened to my city, and to my people. I remember that we have been sold out to the terrorists. We lost our lives to build that country from zero, from the ground. And now we lost everything overnight. After 20 years, we don't deserve this. I'm sorry, but Afghanistan don't deserve this. We're not belong to terrorists. After all,
don't apologize. Don't apologize for your emotion. Don't apologize. It's justified, and the world is watching this, and so much of the world feeling the pain of the Afghan people. I wonder, as you see these tens of thousands of people rush to the airport, do you think a generation of Afghans is going to have to bury their dreams and aspirations?
Yes, we all did. The day that Kabul falls, we did. I'm asking the President of the United States, I'm asking the world leaders, can you sleep at night? And shame on you if you can't, because we can't. And you try to put the blame on us. You try to tell us that we are to blame. Is this all our fault? No, it isn't. And I'm so sorry for people who believe you. No, this is not my fight, you know? I was working in Afghanistan for over a decade, spending my own money, taking a high risk, working so hard to bring light and hope to my country, to my beloved Afghanistan, to give the next generation of Afghanistan hope and a smile, using my filmmaking tools to give the people of Afghanistan a smile. Build a cinema for small kids. Why you did this to us?
Diana, you've heard the Taliban promising peace, order, and an amnesty for everyone. Taliban leaders claiming no one will be harmed, that they're different from the Taliban 20 years ago. Do you have any faith in that?
Can you believe that a terrorist group can change overnight? No sane person will believe that. No, they haven't changed. We know them. This time, yeah, they changed because they need international recognition. That's why they start playing nice. No, they haven't changed.
Do you think you will ever go back to Afghanistan?
Yes, I do. I have my return ticket back to Kabul for September. I'm going to keep that. I'm a filmmaker. I have to go back. It's my home.
Diana, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. We'll check in with you again. Thank you very much for speaking with me.
Sure, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, take care. And you can watch the full interview on our website. After we recorded it, Diana apologized to me for being so emotional. She had been determined not to cry. She's part of a generation of girls and women who believed they could go to school, go to work, and live with agency in Afghanistan. And though thousands are fleeing, she is determined that at some point she'll go back, because she says that's where her heart is. Thanks for watching.